Inside a state investigation for one company's COVID-19 testing practices. Good evening, I'm John Stofflet.
And I'm Lee Mills. As we reported last week, the Center for COVID Control was fined more than $20,000 in Dane County, and it was related to misleading ads.
NBC 15's Michelle Beck is live in the studio with us here. We now know the owners have paid the fine. So how does this resolve consumer complaints?
Now, Wisconsin's investigation does not close the loop on every complaint. To the Better Business Bureau, consumers have reported their concerns about the company not responding to them, providing incorrect test results, and asking for personal ID. $22,500. That's how much the Center for COVID Control has to pay in Dane County over misleading advertising.
We consider this matter resolved and closed. Yep.
The announcement of the settlement came last week, ending a months-long investigation by DATCAP, or the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade and Consumer Protection. Michael Domke oversaw the process.
It was a time where there was a lot of emotion and human investment involved in it. And so getting to the point where you weren't able to provide what you were promoting, it's unacceptable.
The CCC operated in 25 sites around Wisconsin, 6 of them in Dane County. That's apart from its nationwide activity. DATCAP says the company advertised free PCR tests and test results in 2 days. Investigators found the promise was not delivered in time.
The information received was that they did not intend to mislead or deceive. I believe that what happened was they weren't prepared for the volume.
In addition, with more than 24 complaints DATCAP got about the CCC, some Wisconsinites were skeptical of the company taking their driver's license information, but investigators didn't find any proof of identity theft.
So at this point, is it safe to tell CCC former customers your identities are safe?
I would not safely say that because, they still have the information. So, anything could happen in the future.
Please hang up and try again later.
We couldn't reach the CCC for comment Tuesday and found its social media scrubbed. Twitter even said the account was suspended for violating its rules, though the platform didn't specify why.
I have no idea what they're doing now. As far as I know, they've stopped testing in this capacity. They've certainly stopped testing in Wisconsin.
I asked Michael Domke about some of the other complaints, like poor customer service. He says DATCAP didn't look into those aspects and that they would have been referred to the Department of Health Services. We asked the DHS late this afternoon and are waiting to hear back. Live in the studio, Michelle Beck, NBC 15 News.